This Audi A5 is the Ingolstadt maker's current offering to the mid-sized executive market that used to be served by Saloon and Avant versions of its long-running A4 model line. It's luxurious, well-engineered, but unlike its rear-driven premium rivals, still front-driven in its most affordable forms. If you like the Audi brand and want a car of this kind, you'll be tempted.
Audi has long specialised in what used to be called the compact executive saloon. This kind of car isn't quite so compact these days, and it is quite a lot more expensive and sophisticated than it used to be. In this Audi's case, it also bears a new badge, A5. For the last 2 decades, we've known a car of this kind with an Audi badge as an A4, ever since 1994, in fact, when the very first A4 replaced 25 years of Audi A5s. Now, the badge isn't the only thing that's changed here. There is no longer the conventional saloon body style, which used to define the A4 model line. That's been abandoned in favour of the kind of sleek 5-door shape that Ingolstadt previously marketed in this segment as the A5 Sportback. That old model's also gone, as have the other 2 body shapes which previously wore an old generation A5 badge, the Coupe and the Cabriolet, which disappointingly aren't being replaced either. What we do still get though is the estate body style in this sector, an A5 badged Avant model, and that sells alongside this new 5-door version. What this car's called, of course, is far less important than what it can deliver. And in that regard, aside from the new bodywork, much might seem very familiar here if you previously had some sort of A4 on your driveway. Even maybe the evolved look, which remains very Audi. As before, this car differs from its BMW 3 Series and Mercedes C-Class arch rivals by using a front-driven instead of a rear-driven platform, something still disguised if you pay more for the provision of Quattro 4-wheel drive. At first glance, you might recognise the 2-litre TFSI petrol and 2-litre TDI diesel engine lineup too. Yes, there's still a diesel option if you want it. In fact, we're trying that today. So what's really different here? Well, quite a lot, or so Audi claims. New chassis designs for fossil fuel models are rare these days, but this A5 does have one. The premium platform combustion underpinnings, which support the cleverer MHEV Plus mild hybrid system, which has been added to some of the engines. There is also now a plug-in hybrid powertrain. That's something that no previous A4 or A5 ever had. And perhaps best of all, what's claimed to be class-leadingly sophisticated cabin design, traditionally an Ingolstadt strength in this segment. It's been some time since Audi's been a force to be reckoned with in this class. So can this new era A5 return the brand to top-tier contention? Well, to find out, you'll need the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. Has the backlash against the EV revolution started? Well, we can't remember the last time we reviewed a completely new model with significantly redeveloped fossil-fueled engines and a completely new combustion platform. Yet, that's what this new generation A5 claims to offer. And that is almost revolutionary in an era where many other volume brands have just stopped developing combustion engineering some time ago. Audi says that the new premium platform combustion architecture, which replaces the 17-year-old MLB chassis of the old A4 and A5 models, really is new from the ground up. Others reckon that it's merely an evolution of what went before. What is certain, though, is that it's made possible some significantly more electrified engines, notably the 2-litre TDI diesel with the brand's clever MHEV Plus upgraded mild hybrid system, which is one we're trying here actually. And for the first time in this class of Audi, a PHEV powertrain, which Ingolstadt now designates with an e-hybrid badge. Disappointingly though, there's no sign of electrification with the volume engine that for the time being the majority of A5 customers are likely to actually choose. Audi's familiar 2-litre TFSI petrol unit. This props up the range in 150 PS front-driven form, but is a more direct match for its rivals in 204 PS guys, where it can also be had powered from the front, which is significant because that front-driven setup continues to fundamentally set this Audi apart from its two key segment rivals, the Mercedes C-Class, of course, and the BMW 3 Series, which both have long been rear-driven, and that's supposedly a more involving drive format. Audi thinks it doesn't need to be though, and has worked to make this new generation A5 more driver focused. To that end, there are stiffer suspension mounts, there's a more rigid front axle and more connected progressive steering. Plus there's now a wider Audi Drive Select mode spread between comfort and dynamic. The other settings of course are as before individual and efficiency. Efficiency really is a keynote here, and of course in the current zeitgeist it needs to be. And you really feel that at the wheel of this mild hybrid embellished TDI diesel model. We did have mild hybrid tech in the previous generation B6 era A4 too, but you hardly knew it was there really, either at the wheel or from a glance at the efficiency stats. This MHEV Plus setup is different in that it's made up of two separate systems. There's an integrated starter generator and a motor in the gearbox which contributes an extra 25 PS, and that's capable at very low speeds of driving the car all on its own. It often does too actually at start-up or when you're manoeuvring or reversing. Together with the EV-like gear selector, that gives an oddly electric style vibe to regular motoring in this Audi. The brand probably isn't going to sell very many diesel A5 models, and that's a pity because this one offers a complete enough package to make rival brand BMW's decision to delete diesel in this segment look a bit premature. A5 customers are only offered the 204 PS version of the 2-litre 4-cylinder TDI unit, in which form there's a useful 60 Nm more torque than you get in the equivalent TFSI variant. The 0 to 62 miles an hour time of 7.7 seconds is only a tenth faster than the petrol model, but it feels more than that as you effortlessly power through the S-Tronic Auto's 7 ratios on a fat wave of torque en route to the kind of autobahn-ready 150 miles an hour top speed an EV owner can only dream about. With the diesel, there's also the advantage of quattro four-wheel drive if you have more money in the budget for it. The quattro four-wheel drive system is conditional for what might arguably be a better all-round alternative to a TDI-powered A5. That's one fitted with the petrol PHEV e-hybrid system we mentioned earlier. Audi's never previously had the plug-in hybrid technology to compete in this segment, but it does now, courtesy of a setup that's very different from that used in clunky TFSI-powered Q5s and A6s of the past. There's a bigger battery for a start, which at 25.9 kilowatt hours in size offers a 67-mile EV range, which is long enough to ensure that most commutes will be pretty much combustion free. The combining mechanicals are still familiar, the usual 2-litre TFSI turbo petrol unit and the associated 7-speed S-Tronic dual clutch automatic gearbox, but it's all now mated to a much gutsier 142 PS electric motor, and that alone can drive the car at up to 87 miles an hour if you need it to. Total system output is 299 PS with 450 Newton meters of torque. That allows for 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds en route to 155 miles an hour. There are two operating modes available, EV for all electric power and hybrid combining the engine battery. Plus there are 3 different levels of selectable brake energy recuperation, and they're activated by steering wheel paddles just like in an Audi EV. We should briefly cover off the only A5 model we haven't mentioned, the sporting S5 variant. This uses a potent 3-litre petrol turbo V6 with 367 PS and 550 Newton meters of torque, but Audi doesn't want it to drag down the efficiency figures too much for the model line, so they've equipped it with the MHEV Plus mild hybrid system that we told you about earlier. There's quattro four-wheel drive, of course, and the S5 also gets an electronic differential and torque vectoring. Plus, there's the adaptive damping system that for our market, mainstream A5s unfortunately can't have. Rest 262 in the S5 is dispatched in just 4.5 seconds en route to an artificially limited top speed of 155 miles an hour. But let's get back to more regular flavours of A5 motoring. Audi's attempts to make this car more engaging have done really no more than to lift it on a par with the Mercedes C-Class for handling, and that means it's still some way off the really driver-centric feel that you get in a rival BMW 3 Series. So we can't really see why you'd want the lowered sport suspension, which Ingolstadt still non-negotiably fits to the S-Line trim level that most customers actually choose. This car's good with either of the two passive damping setups on the highway though, and that's where refinement is predictably excellent, just as it was in fact in the old A4. What is different now though is the sheer scale of drive assist tech that comes along for the ride there. The drive software can not only adapt to speed limits, but it can automatically adjust your speed before corners and roundabouts and stop signs, which can actually feel a bit eerie. Using nav data, the car can even adjust its speed to make sure that it reaches forthcoming traffic lights when they're green instead of red. Unfamiliar tech then, but packaged in a way that you'll immediately feel familiar with, which ultimately is what this new era A5 is really all about. In both this 5-door saloon hatch form and as an Avant estate, you'd know that this new A5 was an Audi, but a rather more modern one. At 4,829mm in length, it's a size up from the old A4 with a full 67mm of extra length, making this car virtually as big as an A6 was a couple of decades back. As you can see, we've got what the brand calls the saloon version. It's clearly a 5-door hatch though, and quite a sleek looking one too. The roofline dips away past the B-pillar, which as usual with the modern Audi is branded with the model type. At the front, the long bonnet flows into a steeply raked windscreen with A-pillars shifted back by designer Jacob Herzl to well behind the front wheels. Further back, Ingolstadt wants you to notice flared arches. These are referred to by the designers as quattro muscle. Wheel sizes are between 18 and 20 inches. We've got the 19-inch rims here. And if you avoid base trim, you'll have to have this test car's firmer sport suspension, and that lowers the car 20 mils closer to the ground. At the front, it's a slightly more aggressive looking thing than the previous Luke Donkervolker style design, but still all very Audi. The brand's grey rings are central to a familiar single frame grille, which is now flatter and which now bears a three-dimensional honeycomb structure. It's flanked by slim LED headlights, which can feature customizable OLED technology. Less subtle and rather less cohesive to the overall look are these triangular grey framed corner cutouts. The twin grooved bonnet, which flows down into what Audi calls the soft nose, looks sleek, and there are two large plates in the lower grille for the now much wider portfolio of ADAS camera equipment. There's been no attempt to make this A5 saloon look like a saloon here at the back, where the tailgate sweeps down to the three-dimensional offset Audi full-width light bar, which aims to emphasize this design's 13mm of extra width. The top S5 model gets the brand's fancy OLED lighting tech, which sees the rear clusters here made up of 364 segments, offering a total of 8 configurable lighting signatures. Twin chrome-tipped left side exhausts, they mark out this TDI model. As usual, of course, what's more important is what you can't see, the more electrified premium platform combustion underpinnings, and they mark out this B10 generation model. Right, time to take a look inside. There are no pop-out door handles to greet you as you approach. That wouldn't be very Audi, but the concealed touch buttons under the handles really are. And as usual, you can specify a digital key which allows you to unlock the car with your smartphone. It used to be a rather uniquely cool and classy feeling when you got behind the wheel of one of Ingolstadt's models. This one is still classy enough, but because the brand has followed the trend towards wall-to-wall screen tech, you might now need the 4 rings on this squared-off steering wheel here to convince you that you're actually in an Audi. This is the brand's new generation soft wrap design, which extends from the doors around the main dashboard, sculpted in a digital stage shape, which is supposed to resemble the single frame grille. As part of this, an 11.9-inch digital instrument display blends into a 14.5-inch curved control infotainment touchscreen. Options fitted here include a head-up display and a smaller 10.9-inch screen for the passenger, which has a clever polarized filter so the driver can't be distracted by what's on it. As we said when we first tried this new style of interior design in the Q6 e-tron, the way the expansive screen curves around you is appealing, but lower down, the wide swathe of glossy piano black plastic which surrounds the EV-style gear selector and the unlidded cup holders really isn't. Why are car brands so attracted to this kind of shiny surfacing? It's easy to scratch and smudge and you're constantly having to wipe it down for dust. It even features on the little square smart door panel, to which, for some reason, the lighting switches has been relocated. Borrowing a feature we've seen on various VW Group EVs, this A5 can feature an optional dynamic interaction light. This is an ambient lighting strip at the top of the dashboard which highlights things like indicator, phone and safety functions. Ideally, you'd want that. Premium touches include dashboard double stitching and the smart door speakers for the optional Bang & Olufsen high-end sound system, plus sustainable and vegan materials feature throughout. In terms of overall ergonomics though, it's hard to avoid the feeling that Audi cabins have regressed in user friendliness. There are now no physical climate buttons, and those irritatingly fiddly touch-sensitive steering wheel buttons will have anyone who owned an old A4 wishing for the tactile provision of that previous model's lower MMI controller. The only thing we like about them is the provision on the right-hand spoke of this really useful star button, which is a one-shot route to turning the traffic sign-based speed warning off. Earlier we mentioned the instrument display. The conventional sighting of this, we suppose we should be thankful for as an alternative to having everything crammed in Tesla-like on some enormous central monitor in the middle of the dashboard. There is a bit of Tesla-style tech here, though, in the virtual central display, which above digital speed readout shows other vehicles around you as you drive. If you're used to the old Audi virtual cockpit style of screen dial design, you'll find this Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus OLED display a bit different. It certainly doesn't feel quite as configurable as the old setup. It can no longer show sat-nav mapping, for example. All you can do is vary what you see in boxes which flank the central graphic. The one on the left shows trip data, the one on the right is for nav instructions, audio selections or phone settings. Everything else you'll need is on this high-resolution MMI Navigation Plus central screen display. This OLED Android Automotive OS-based setup is a product of the brand's newly developed electronic architecture E3 tech, which is supposed to allow customers to experience vehicle digitalization more directly than was ever possible in an Audi before. A lot of this 14.5-inch screen's real estate is taken up by permanently displaying functions, climate controls along the bottom and 2 rows of shortcut features on the right. You can decide how to populate the rest of the surface. We've got radio settings and mapping for the 3D navigation system here. Swipe left for an analog clock, for drive select settings and phone functions. We are thankful for a physical volume knob too. Drill down into what's on offer with this curved monitor, and it's all very advanced. You get wondrous graphics, and there's a self-learning Audi voice assistant used to control numerous vehicle functions, which understands more than 800 voice commands. Plus there's Alexa functionality, regular over-the-air updates, a wireless smartphone interface, and a store section that gives customers access to a wide range of apps. This is basically a new era of infotainment provision with features like a web browser, which could, for example, allow your passenger to reserve a hotel room for you through booking.com as you drive to your destination, all through the touchscreen. This monitor also comes with the option that we have here of a thumping 16-speaker 3D Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. As I mentioned earlier, your A5 can feature this third 10.9-inch screen in front of the passenger. A nice thing to have perhaps if someone else is paying, but a feature you might struggle to see the point of. You might like the fact that you can add apps onto it, like Amazon Music or YouTube, so films can be watched by the passenger on a long trip. But there are no climate control buttons, and pretty much all the stuff on this extra monitor is duplicated by the central screen. What else? Well, the driver's seat, this is supportive and aligns nicely with the controls, but if you pull the wheel down to its lowest setting, it can obscure the top of the instrument display. Forward visibility is good, but your rear view is slightly restricted by the headrests, so you'll need the standard rear view camera and the sensors. As for practicality, well, there's a big glove box, but small door bins, plus a little lidded cubby by your right knee. This shallow illuminated box between the seats has a ratcheting top which acts as an armrest, and there's an open area where the center console meets a dashboard, including a wireless phone mat near the 12-volt socket. There are twin USB ports nearby too, but unfortunately they're both USB-Cs, so you'll probably have to have an unsightly converter lead. Right, let's take a look at the rear, access to which is aided by a wide door opening and a low sill, so it'll be easy to lean in and attach something like a child seat. You'd think that 80 millimeters of extra wheelbase length over the predecessor would help this A5 here. Means that a couple of 6-foot adults can sit on the more heavily bolstered rear seats more comfortably, aided by a lower hip point for the seat base and a slightly raised position over the front seats, which offers a better view forward. Overall, it's a slight improvement over what you get in the back of a rival 3 Series or C-Class, and knee room is definitely better than the old A4, aided by these scalloped seat backs here, although taller folk might still struggle with headroom, particularly with this optional panoramic glass roof fitted. Yeah, the roof. This is one of those switchable transparency types, which means it can go opaque at the touch of a button or partly opaque if you choose the interim slatted pergola mode. It's really cool. Even without the roof fitted, it wouldn't be too claustrophobic back here, thanks to these little triangular quarter-light windows. The central tunnel is a bit high though. You would struggle to fit in a third middle-seated adult here. Above the tunnel are climate controls and a couple of USB-C ports, and there's an armrest with cup holders, twin overhead reading lights on each side, a coat hook on each B-pillar, and the option of these side window blinds here. The seat backs don't recline, but there are big door bins, although unlike those in the front, they're not lined, and that does seem, well, a little bit mean. Let's finish as usual with a look in the boot, accessed via this impractically silver-coloured sill. You might think that part of the point of switching from a saloon to a hatch body style with this car would be to increase trunk space. If so, when the standard powered tailgate rises, you'll be confused to find the 480 litre capacity of the old A4 has shrunk to just 445 here. That's the smallest space in the class actually, just 417 litres with Quattro four-wheel drive too. You could trade up to the Avant estate body shape to get a bit more, 476 with a front driven model, but even that's 4 litres less you'll get with a competing BMW 3 Series saloon. Remember too, if you choose the e-hybrid PHEV powertrain with your A5, the capacity falls quite a bit to 331 litres with the 5-door or 361 with the Avant. It is at least quite a usable space with a netted storage area on the left, 4 tie-downs, a 12-volt socket on the right, lights on both sides, and usefully further lights on the inside of the tailgate to facilitate nighttime loading. Unfortunately though, there is no underfloor space, so forget about having any kind of spare wheel. If you do need to extend things, there's a convenience of a 40-20-40 rear seat back split, so long items like skis can be slid in between a couple of rear seated passengers. With everything flattened, up to 1,299 litres of space is available in the front driven 5-door model. It'd be 1,271 with a Quattro 4-wheel drive and 1,175 litres with the E-Hybrid. There's up to 1,424 litres of space in the front-driven Avant estate, and it'd be 1,306 litres with the E-Hybrid. Let's get to the pricing. Pitched at the time of our test in spring 2025 from around £43,500 for this 5-door saloon, with a £1,900 premium if you want the alternative Avant estate version. There's a base Technic trim level, but as usual, the core of the range is based around base Sport, or for £2,150 more, plusher S-Line trim. Entry-level pricing is based around the 150 PS version of a 2-litre TSI unit. That is also available, though, in 204 PS form. There's a big premium over the base 2-litre 150 PS unit, more than £4,500 if you want your A5 with the 204 PS 2-litre TDI diesel we're trying here, with another £1,500 on top of that to get Quattro drive with your A5 diesel. Perhaps a better powertrain choice, though, lies with the petrol-powered A5 E-Hybrid. That's a 299 PS PHEV, which only comes with Quattro 4-wheel drive and costs much the same money as the TDI. As you'd expect, Quattro is conditional with a top petrol-powered S5 model, which, as we filmed, was priced from around £70,500. You want some value perspective on those prices, specifically against the BMW 3 Series and the Mercedes C-Class models, which offer this Audi its main competition. Now, those cars have entry-level petrol engines offering either 186 PS in the case of the 320i or 206 PS with a Mercedes C200. So we can safely ignore the base 150 PS TFSI version of this A5 for comparison purposes. The A5 TFSI 204 PS model has been priced directly against a comparable Mercedes C200, but it costs a significant premium, more than £4,000, over the equivalent BMW 320i. If the BMW badge takes your fancy, then you might quite correctly think that a 4 Series Grand Coupe is a closer match to this Audi than a 3 Series Saloon. The Grand Coupe is fractionally more expensive than a 5-door A5, though. If you're interested in this test Audi's diesel engine, it's worth mentioning that a Mercedes C220, the 220D of course, undercuts an A5 TDI by over £1,000. BMW doesn't offer diesel units to 3 Series or 4 Series customers, though, anymore. The A5 E-Hybrid has been priced directly against its Mercedes C300E counterpart, a BMW 330e. That would save you a couple of thousand over both models. If, having considered all that, you conclude it is this Audi that you really want, then you're going to need to know exactly how generous the Ingolstadt brand has been this time around with standard spec. So let's take a look at that right now. Base Sport trim will get you 18-inch 5 twin-spoke design alloy wheels, LED headlights with high beam assist, an acoustic windscreen, a powered hatch or tailgate, an anti-theft alarm and LED tail lamps with dynamic indicators. Drive stuff includes progressive steering, adaptive cruise control, Audi Drive Select driving modes, and a Park Assist Plus system which will automatically steer you into tight spaces. Inside with sport spec, there's heated front sport seats in twin leather upholstery, 3-zone automatic climate control, 30-colour ambient lighting, wireless charging for 2 phone handsets, and an 11.9-inch Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus OLED instrument display. Infotainment's covered off by a 14.5-inch MMI Navigation Plus higher resolution OLED centre screen with 3D mapping. Audi Assistant 2 voice control as well, and 3-year subscription for the many Audi Connect navigation and infotainment services, which include the Audi App Store and screen themes. There's also a 10-speaker, 180-watt Audi sound system and a rear-view camera with a 360-degree Parking System Plus display. To this tally, S-line trim adds larger 19-inch graphite grey painted 5 twin V-spoke alloy wheels, S-line exterior styling, rear privacy glass and lowered sport suspension. Inside with an A5 S-line model, you'll get stainless steel pedals, a black cloth headliner, a bespoke S-branded steering wheel, S-branded door trims and matte brushed aluminium interior inlays. The front seats are S-branded too, and there is a useful no-cost option of lighter coloured upholstery if you want that. The top S5 model does of course have its own bespoke spec. The launch edition 1 version of that variant on sale at the time of this test included 20-inch 5 twin-spoke Audi Sport alloy wheels, S exterior styling, digital OLED tail lights, S-Sport suspension with damper control and a switchable transparency panoramic sunroof. Inside with S5 trim you'll get pearl Napa leather upholstered power adjustable front seats with a massage function, the brand's ambient lighting package Pro with its dash top dynamic interaction light and a heated steering wheel with power adjustment. There is also a head-up display, rear seat heating, a 10.9-inch MMI front passenger touch display and a 3D Bang & Olufsen premium sound system with integrated headrest speakers. What about options? Well, with mainstream A5s, your Audi Centre is going to want you to consider paying the £2,500 extra for the Sound and Vision pack. That'll get you some of the niceties we just mentioned with S5 spec, the Bang & Olufsen sound system, the head-up display, and the more advanced ambient lighting package with the dynamic interaction light. You can also add the switchable transparency panoramic sunroof. And with S-line trim, there's the alternative 5-arm aero 19-inch wheel design. Do bear in mind, unless you order your A5 with the only standard colour, and that's solid Arcona white, you're going to have to budget at least £725 more for your choice of paint colour. We have got metallic firmament blue here. As usual, there is the option to add a tow bar, of course. On to safety. All the usual camera, driver assistance, safety systems you'd expect are of course included. In this case that means front emergency brake assist, lane departure warning, intersection assist, swerve assist and turn assist. There's an advanced driver attention and fatigue monitor and traffic sign recognition which facilitates an intelligent speed limiter. There's a full range of passive safety kit too, including a tyre pressure loss indicator, plus of course all the usual e-call system linked airbags, including front side airbags with a head airbag system and a front interaction airbag. Let's get to the efficiency figures. Both the 2-litre TFSI petrol models manage up to 42.2 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 154 grams per kilometre of CO2. That matches the class standard. A BMW 320i manages 43.5 mpg and 147 grams per kilometre. A Mercedes C200 manages 45.6 miles per gallon and 142 grams per kilometre. Obviously, to get close to those stated figures, you'll have to regularly engage the most frugal drive mode, which is efficiency. What about the diesel version that we're driving here? Well, with this TDI, we'd hoped that the efficiency figures might have done really rather more than merely match the class standard. I mean, after all, this engine does now feature Ingolstadt's much trumpeted MHEV Plus mild hybrid technology, which adds a clever powertrain generator, the PTG, and that can feed up to 24 PS of electric power to the output of the combustion engine here. When decelerating, the PTG feeds energy right back into the battery up to 25 kilowatts. As a result, purely electric manoeuvring and parking are certainly possible, as well as dramatically increased levels of regenerative braking. As usual with these things, it all sounds very good, but when you drill right down into the figures, it turns out that all the MHEV Plus system does is not quite bring the readings of this VW Group 2-litre TDI engine up to match the class standard. This front-driven A5 TDI manages up to 58.9 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and up to 126 grams per kilometre. For comparison, a rival Mercedes C220D with its more straightforward mild hybrid tech that manages up to 62.8 mpg and up to 123 grams per kilometre. For reference, an A5 TDI Quattro, that's rated at up to 55.4 miles per gallon and up to 134 grams per kilometre. For some reason, Audi has decided that the top petrol S5 should also have an MHEV Plus mild hybrid system, and so equipped, the flagship model manages up to 36.2 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 176 grams per kilometre of CO2. For real efficiency though, in an A5, as we told you in our driving section, you have to look at the PHEV petrol e-hybrid model. The efficiency figures here aren't as outlandish as they usually are with plug-in hybrids, but they are probably a great deal closer to the stats that you might get actually somewhere near to in day-to-day motoring. When it's fully charged up, 134.5 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 47 grams per kilometre of CO2. To get close to those figures, you're going to have to get proactive with the e-hybrid's 3-level brake energy recuperation system. This can recover up to 88 kilowatts of power and feed it back into the HV battery. As for plugging in the PHEV, well, charging power is much better than it was in the old TFSI E plug-in hybrid system. It has been increased from 2-phase 7.4 kilowatts to 3-phase 11 kilowatts, if you can use that, of course. With a 3-phase supply, you could completely recharge the A5e hybrid in 2.5 hours. What else might you need to know? Well, insurance groups start at 24E for the base 150 PS 2-litre TFSI, 31E for the 2-litre TFSI 204 PS model, and 33E for this 2-litre TDI diesel. Residual values should be pretty strong. After 3 years and 36,000 miles of ownership, experts reckon that a mainstream A5 will retain between 42 and 49% of its original value. That's slightly better than a Mercedes C-Class, 42 to 47%, but a bit behind a BMW 3 Series at 46 to 52%. Audi's not particularly generous with the warranty, still 3 years and 60,000 miles. You can extend that cover though to 4 years and 75,000 miles or 5 years and 90,000 miles at extra cost. As usual with Audi models, there's a choice of either the fixed or flexible servicing regime. The choice between the two depends on the extent of your likely annual mileage. So for the fixed schedule, that's aimed at drivers covering fewer than 10,000 miles a year, and it includes an oil change service every 9,000 miles or every year, plus an inspection service every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. If you, on the other hand, cover more than 10,000 miles a year, then the flexible service schedule will be more appropriate. The regime includes oil change and inspection services at variable intervals of up to every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. Audi has spent over a quarter of a century perfecting this kind of car, and that really shows with this new generation A5. It's a spacious, classy car which is fully conversant with the kind of high-tech design and faultless cabin quality which its target middle management executive market likes to expect. So it stacks up in the showroom just as well as it does on the balance sheet, with the MHEV Plus TDI diesel and e-hybrid PHEV models offering running cost returns which should please the company accountant. Audi knows that this car's front-wheel drive or quattro four-wheel drive drivetrain formats aren't going to make it the segment choice for handling response, but compensations really come with refinement and ride quality. If these are your priorities too, and you can afford the premium prices, then you'll find much to like here. This A5 aims to be the class benchmark for build quality and for quality cabin design, and you could certainly argue that no other brand does a better digital dash. Plus, the infotainment screen upgrade brings media connectivity up to the standard of a rival BMW and Mercedes system. The stiffening competition that's forced Audi to up its game in terms of standard equipment lower down the range, and that's very welcome. Plus, all the styling changes have given this car a little more pavement personality too. although at the price of a reduction in boot space, of course. And in summary, well, even more than its A4 predecessor, this A5 feels like a car that's been lovingly and very carefully considered. The depth of engineering and the thought that's gone into the tiniest details combine to further enhance the warm, fuzzy feeling which has charmed Audi customers for years. If you are one of those people, then of course you'll like this car very much. But even if you're not, you'll find it very hard not to be impressed by the way that it systematically ticks almost every box on the mid-sized executive market wish list. It's very thorough and it is very Audi.